Hi, it's Rob Bryanton, Imagine the 10th Dimension video blog, and here we are at 10thdimension.com chat. Just a reminder, if you're watching these shows right now, you're watching a pre-recorded show, but the text that's scrolling in underneath is being generated live, so that becomes part of what people are seeing wherever they're watching this streaming video from ustream.tv. And you may have some comments for my guest today, which will become part of a log that then we will be passing on to him. My guest is Jack Semple, musician extraordinaire. And we're talking about some of the ideas that relate to the Imagining the 10th Dimension project and how that ties into music and creativity and memes. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was music in terms of how it relates to us and how it connects us across time and space. And there's a book I'm reading right now by a fella named Daniel Levitin. The book's called This Is Your Brain on Music. And Daniel went from being a rocker and a producer to a neuroscientist. And he's got some really interesting things in this book. I understand this book relates somewhat to Oliver Sacks' new book, Musicophilia, which Oliver Sacks is the guy who wrote The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. And this book also talks about all the different ways that the brain relates to music. And I just wanted to read a couple little phrases here from the book to set things up. Daniel says, through studies of people with brain damage, we've seen patients who have lost the ability to read a newspaper but can still read music, or individuals who can play the piano but lack the motor coordination to button their own sweater. Music, listening, performance, and composition engage nearly every area of the brain that we have so far identified, which, you know, is, I think, says a lot about the power of music and how people, you know, they say music is all right brain, and what Daniel is talking about here is that music is really an all brain experience, and that might be one of the reasons why it ties so strongly to us across time and space. The other thing he says that I'd never heard of before is that in most of the world's languages, the verb for singing is also the verb for dancing. That those are both the same thing. And so what I want to talk with Jack about today is the relationship between physicality and music. Starting from really simple things like straight eighths and swing eighths. You know, the idea that if you've got something that a straight eighth, tick tock, if you're trying to do that with your hand, tick tock, there's a certain muscle tension that's involved in that. A swing eighth, duck, 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 all of a sudden there's a relaxation that happens there. Mm. And those basic things tie across culture, tie across different times that music has been created. Can we talk a little bit about that, Jack? What do you think about those ideas?
Well, I guess if you're talking about rhythm, there's rhythms all around in the wind, in waves on the ocean, but more primarily your heartbeat, because your heartbeat, even though you're not really aware of it, it's going, and if you put your hand on it, you got a groove going, and right. It's just there. It's going through your veins. It's so that's why I think why rhythm exists, or why we perceive rhythm, is because we are a rhythm.
Yep.
And there's a unlimited number of variations of how to subdivide a rhythm, and subdivide meaning take one steady pulse and divide it into different pieces, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, you can divide it. The most obvious one is divided in 2, like you said. And in music, in rock and roll music, it's the straight eighth rhythm. It has certain moving ahead intensity, straight line to it,
right?
Which is it can be translated into an emotion like determination, or something like that. And what you were saying in the same tempo, if it's swing, it's somehow more relaxed and somehow a little bit more complex, because within that stretching, instead of dividing each beat in 2, you're actually dividing it into 3, which is called a triplet.
Right.
Every person has their own personal energy. Some people who are more relaxed will have a more relaxed interpretation of that group, and some people who are more hyper will have a tighter interpretation of that subdivision. And so you get a personality has an effect on that swing. Like particularly me as a musician, I play with drummers all the time. Not that drummers aren't musicians, they're musicians too. But two drummers can play exactly the same tempo and the same, you can describe this song the same way to them, but it'll have a completely different feel because their personality is expressed through this subdivision, through the subtlety of dividing the beats up. So, and culturally, from one culture to another, the way some cultures are faster. Some cultures have faster music. They have faster pace. Everything. Some cultures are slower based, and their music reflects it the same way.